Hi there, it's Carl Irwin, the Common Magician, and I've got a few minutes here to go back to the Animan Forces Unknown. This is not in the book. I'm pretty sure this particular force and even the variants of it, I don't think it's in there. I've kind of scoured it. I had a false memory that it was in there, but it's not. I don't believe so. Not among the card material, but it's a really well-known force, and it's one that people love and hate sometimes simultaneously. It's just hard to... People that have this kind of concern find a hard way to justify its existence in a routine or in an effect. But let's take a look real quick. We've got a deck of cards here, and we'll talk about shuffled by the spectator kind of situations here in a minute. But the idea here being that, you know, the deck could be shuffled or whatever. This is the open prediction kind of version of this, right? So we have a prediction sitting out there. And of course, for the open prediction, kind of that hands-off sort of scenario, you have somebody make a selection following kind of the Vernon trick that cannot be explained, right? You often will have several layers of investigation before you have your hit. This is kind of the poor man's way to get there that looks, in the right presentation, every bit as good. And this is one of those ways, I think, that you can actually justify using this principle. And I haven't talked much about this. I've actually defamed it more than I've ever talked about it. But have a shuffled deck of cards. You just ask the spectator, go ahead and cut the deck and go ahead and turn it over. And this is very much like the trick that cannot be explained. They turn over and say, go ahead and set it down on the top. You say, good. Now, this is a selection in the middle, right? And this is not exactly what we're looking for, but this is where you have chosen to cut. Let's get someone else to make a choice here, too. Why don't you just cut a few more cards, cut a little bit deep, maybe 3/4 of the deck. Go ahead and cut and turn that over. And you can see that you have a selection very free from the shuffled deck as well, right? And again, that's not exactly what we're looking for. What I'm looking for is what the two of you have come up with together, right? You have made some decisions here about the deck. You've searched around. You have not identified exactly what it is that I want. What I want, actually, is this one. We're looking for the King of Clubs. You'll notice, though, that between your cuts, you have arrived at a point here where the cards are back to back. And right here, between your cuts, you see that we have the King of Clubs. So this is a sort of justification for the cut deeper force, right? That you have two selections, and it's the composite action of those two that gets you to where you want to be. Normally this is used very ambiguously for no good reason. Your force card is on the top, and you would say, just to force a card, say, go ahead and cut a small packet. Go ahead and cut a little deeper and cut another one. And we'll see whatever we ended up at. Now, I understand it's exactly the same thing, but what we're doing, I think, by having people make a selection, in fact, let's do it this way so you can actually see the motion. We'll put the card we want on top. What we're doing by having someone cut, turn over, and pointing out that they made a selection, but it's not what we're looking for, and then having someone else cut even deeper, turning it over to make a selection, but that's not what we're looking for. Now we've justified two different people making decisions together that end up at a place where we want to be. That is justification for the procedure, right? Having one person cut and then cut a little deeper, I'm not sure is very good justification, because there's no reason to do that, right? But having one person make a selection and saying that's not what we want, having someone else make a selection and say that's not what we want, but between the two of you, now we've justified the action and the revelation. Okay, so finding ways to get justification for this procedure is beneficial, right? If you can justify the act of doing this, then the force becomes usable. And I bring this up because Sean Devine on his channel, he covered this kind of principle with an open prediction. His concept is to miscall, right? Show a card, you identify what it is you want on the top, You miscall that card, 10 of hearts, right? Close it up. And then you have a very similar kind of procedure. So it's open prediction in that you miscall the card. You don't have to have something else. And this can come off of a freshly shuffled deck because you're using whatever the opportunity gives you on the top. Go check out his video. It's very recent, within the last week here, and he has a lot of good points and good discussion on that. I want to bring up something else, though. So in terms of crediting, like, where does this thing come from? There's a lot of people that have done things similar that get us to where we're at. So one, if you look at the Conjuring Credits website, you can kind of see they give you a bit of a known history about it. So Chris in Animan's It's a Secret, which is Animan, right? It's Animan Publications, just isn't the Forces one, which is why I don't understand why it didn't make its way in there. Not that I can find anyway. If you know that there's a permutation of this, a version of this in there, please point it out to me, because I haven't been able to find it. It's weird to me that it isn't in there, because it is a force. This is early 30s, right? It's very, very early publication as far as kind of modern magic. Also credited to Balducci. Around that time, Brother John Hammond had a variation of this that had multiple cuts, not just two, but more than that, I believe. And Browie covered this a little bit. And of course, Fulves is well known for kind of bringing this back up in his self-working series of card tricks. And he has kind of versions and variations of this and justifications for using it. And that's where people point to often for this kind of a forces back to Carl Fulves. However, there is another version of this which I think is really, really sharp, really good. Here's another variation on it, which I think is easier to justify and is quicker, cleaner. Okay, it goes like this: you have your open prediction, you have the deck which could have been shuffled if you retain that top card, and the way it starts is. Good. Go ahead and take the deck and turn it over. Okay, you can see the bottom card. Go ahead and turn it over. Why don't you cut about half the deck off and turn it over, right? You can see this other card in the middle where you cut to. These are not what we're interested in. But what I'm interested in is the other place that you cut to. And if we take a look here against where you cut in the deck, the other side of your cut, this is the card that we're interested in. And you can see that it is a perfect match, King of Clubs. This is a really direct version from Lynn Searle's 1936, very, very early as well. It's just taking the first phase, and there's a little bit of manipulation involved where you have to get hands-on. Card is on top. They turn it over. This is very open prediction, very card trick that can't be explained kind of presentation. They turn it over, and either you can just pick it up and set it back on top, and without explanation, you pick up the deck, turn it over, and give a spread. Not give a spread right here showing the real location where you cut. This is a very kind of crisscross forcey sort of discrepancy, right, that we're dealing with. Again, they turn it over, they cut, it gets placed on the deck, bit of time misdirection. What I'm interested in actually is the other side of the cut. Turn the deck over, give it a spread. This is not interesting anymore, either side of the deck. What we're looking at here is this other location, which is now the force, because this is the original top. That is very direct, and because you're not doing cut deeper, you have less to justify. There's really nothing to justify at all. You don't have to justify a procedure. It's just a direct that's only been cut once, right? And now you're saying, I'm not interested in this card. I'm interested in the other side of the cut. That's when you turn it over as you're explaining, and then you do your revelation. So that's an idea to kind of upcharge your cut deeper force by not cutting deeper, providing kind of very organic justification by not having to justify a process. There's no procedure now, right? It's just a simple cut. Not interested in that one. We're looking at the other side of the cut, which is right here. And then you move on and take it out. I don't think this works good as a force. I think the cut deeper force, I think, works much better as a revelation, as a procedural revelation, where you justify the motions that you're going through. Not as a, go ahead and cut the deck. I'm not interested in that one. I'm interested in this one here, and this is now going to be your card. That seems fishy. But if we already have a prediction and we're trying to reveal that prediction, then I think it's a lot easier to get away with this because we're not just giving them a selection. If we're giving them a selection at the onset of a trick, not a revelation, but a beginning initial selection, this is what people expect. Take a card. Think of a card, right? Pick a suit. Pick a value. What is it? That's your card. We're looking for a revelation application of the cut deeper force, or this Lynn Searle's idea of the cut, and then reveal the opposite side of the cut, which is now the top. Okay, that topsy-turvy discrepancy application of the force. So some ideas on crisscross, or on some ideas on cut deeper for you to take. Again, brought back to my attention by that Sean Devine video. Go check that out. If you've ever tried to find a reason to use this, I think these are the avenues you want to go down. Justification for the procedure as a revelation to a trick. The procedure has to have purpose and drive. Multiple people involved in it. You made a selection, but it's not what we want. You made one, but it's not what you want. But together, you have come to this justification. Now you have a reason to use it. And then, of course, this other Searle's idea, which I think is really clever. I'm going to use this since I've kind of come across it. I really like that very direct nature of, but we're not really interested in that. We're interested in the other side of the cut, which is this one. Okay, the other card. Or you can say, but not all. Here's another maybe a verbal way to get there. Here's the deck. Here's our thing. Go ahead and cut about half the deck. Go ahead and turn it over. This is not what we're interested in, okay? But we have other options. Go ahead and turn the whole deck over. Let's take a look at the other side of the deck. This is also not what we're interested in, but we're not all hope is lost again. Can you just take the deck and spread it out? So you see the other side of your cut. The other side of your cut. Let's take a look at that one and see what we get. So here we have kind of a directional procedure. They're cutting, right? Take a look at the other side. Well, why don't we spread them out? This is hands-off. This is very trick that cannot be explained kind of procedure. Because if you remember, the trick that can't be explained is shuffle the deck, place it face down, right? Or set it down, take a look at the top card, right? Turn the deck over, right? Cut the deck. There's a lot of this kind of stuff going on that they're doing in order to get to a revelation. And the key is to have as few steps as possible, or do a couple of potential peaks and revelations before you get to this moment and you take control and you find it, and then you get to spelling outs or whatever. Okay, trick that cannot be explained. We're doing the same kind of thing, but we have a whole lot more control over this situation, right? If I know that it's on top, I have my cut deeper, or the Searle's kind of control at my disposal. My card's here. I know it, right? Why don't you cut about half the deck, turn it over? Interesting. We're not really interested in that one, though. Can you turn the whole deck over? Let's look at the bottom. Okay, we see that what we want is really not here. But why don't you spread the deck? This might be a better open revelation if this is known, right? That might be a better way. Now, this is the other side of your cut. This is the other side of your cut. Maybe this is what we're interested in. Let's slide that out here. Let's take a look. We can see everything here. We can see everything here. What is this? What do we have? Now we have it. Okay, so using that cut deeper concept, maybe in a less orthodox or more old school way, going back to that more original idea of a single cut and then a turnover. It's pretty strong. It really is. It's hard to really kind of navigate in the mind. It looks quite legit, right? When someone cuts a deck, they think about this card and this card. This is what the implication is. The act of doing this still implies that this is where that cut was at, right? Pretty good application, pretty strong, without a lot of procedure. So anyway, good luck with that. Happy magicking.